Okay. So,
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Doing great. It's a little cold outside today, but making it.
Oh, yeah.
So, hopefully we can get this matter resolved, or at least negotiate somewhat, so, it's not left to the whims of the court.
Right. Clearly, both of them want to end the marriage without a lot of acrimony, no feelings, want to settle it because it'll save them a lot of money and a lot of time, and honestly, a lot of stress on their children.
Of course.
Outside of the court. So hopefully we can come up with something that'll work for the two of them.
I agree. Okay, so, first, I just have a few questions,
Sure.
based on, on what Robert wants. So with the children, stated to me from Angela that, they had agreed that she should remain as the primary caretaker with, custody split between the two of them.
Correct.
With a definite
timeline. Correct.
So I just wanted to make sure that was accurate.
Right. So I guess we'll go into the custody.
Start with the children.
So obviously he still loves his children more than anything, wants the time with them.
Of course.
But the business that he started is brand new and he needs the time to get it up and running.
Yes.
So also the kids shouldn't have to deal with like a huge change at their age. They're only 12 and 9.
I think that is the most important thing to Angela, is that the kids aren't, taken out of their normal routine. They can stay in the same school.
So I was thinking in regards to the custody on a regular schedule basis,
yes,
that Angela would have them during the week.
Okay.
And Robert would have them on the weekends.
Okay.
A few things with that, however.
Sure.
Angela may or may not be seeing someone.
Okay.
And however, if Angela is seeing someone,
yes,
in a general sense, I think it should be agreed upon on both parties.
Okay.
That
who they come in contact with? Is
that their children shouldn't be subject to the other person sleeping over, doing things like that.
Okay. Yes.
While the children are in their care.
Okay, and this is after the divorce, or in the time? Well, okay, yeah,
this
obviously
is
after
going
the divorce.
forward.
Yes. Okay. I think that is something we can talk about, definitely.
That especially, I think Robert, as loving his children and still wanting them,
he has the best intentions in mind.
He has the best intentions in mind. Still wants to be present in their life. So I think personally, Robert is going to be more angered by the fact that she is seeing someone.
I would assume so.
However, between us in this sense, do you think that if, per se, we agreed that if Angela were to see someone or start seeing someone, that they're not allowed to stay over when the children are in her care?
Okay.
Like, so that means if she wants to have her significant other over or something, it would be on the weekend while they are in Robert's care.
Okay.
And however, although Robert is busy with his business, within the timeline that they have, with it being the week, he loves his children. Obviously, he'd love to have more time with them.
Okay.
So, like, if she did so happen to want to have this significant other over during the week and stay over.
And this, kind of, going back and forth kind of thing would last until, let's say, if she was to see someone and they were to get serious and she were to get remarried, then obviously this would...
That's what I'm thinking, obviously, as well. Unless it's a serious, committed relationship, as if, they are getting married, or that's something different, I guess that they would have to, reevaluate at a later time. But based on right now, they are, this divorce is just happening. Anyone that they bring around would kind of be a boyfriend-girlfriend situation at this point. And I don't think because the children are 12 and 9 years old, it would be, especially with what they will deal with their parents just going through a divorce, to have another person around them. Especially not a serious relationship where they know they're getting remarried or something. So I think that I agree with Angela should have the children during the week. They shouldn't be taken from their regular schedule. Robert should be allowed to have them on the weekends in that
Okay.
case. But if Angela did so happen want to have her significant other over during the week to stay over,
Okay.
I'm sure
wants to be flexible.
I'm sure she could call Robert and say that and have the children go there for the night.
So I had, with that in mind, Angela feels the same way. If she were to start seeing someone, she wouldn't want them to, she doesn't feel that the children should see her with another man, in light of the situation.
And vice versa as well. He feels the same way.
Exactly. So what I thought would be a good platform as far as custody or because Angela really wants a definite schedule on visitation. So for one, because she thinks a schedule would be good for the children as well as
and
for
that's
Robert.
agreed upon with Robert as well.
Yeah. So what I was thinking is the weekends, and then she'd have them during the week, except for say Wednesday or Thursday every other week they would spend with Robert.
Yeah.
And then when it lines up on his weekend, it's he takes them to school Thursday, takes them to school Friday, picks them up, and then it's his weekend.
Then he gets the rest of the weekend.
So.
I can see that working.
Okay.
The other thing that I guess we should discuss is holiday time with the children.
Yes, that was. Yes.
How does your client feel about?
She obviously knows that Robert obviously wants to spend holidays with his children as well as she does, and as he knows, she doesn't have a lot of family in this area, so she would have to travel a lot for holidays.
As well, her parents live in Vermont. They're elderly. He really wants his children to be able to spend a little more time with them before they
exactly. But so
a day by day, they couldn't possibly do Christmas Eve, Christmas because that
okay because he wants to go off. He wants to go to his families for the holidays, those holidays.
Right. So, regardless of I don't see a day-by-day thing working for holidays that are like
Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Like Christmas, Thanksgiving, that it's
yeah, it's an extended holiday.
Yeah, it would be more like it would have to be more like either a schedule set or, Robert has made it very clear that he still does love his wife.
Yes.
He still, he does not want any ill feelings towards the two of them, and he wants what's best for his children.
Yes,
so I was unsure of the situation with, holidays being conjoined at a neutral location, or do we see that probably not working best?
I think if maybe in the future that might be possible, but I think
for the time being,
I think it would probably be best for them to split the holidays,
right.
Maybe not per se on a day-by-day basis like you were saying, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, but to have a schedule that would consist of, this holiday, this person gets children, so,
right.
If we were to start with Christmas, and, whoever would get them the first Christmas, then it would,
the next Christmas would be the, right.
So.
And I think we should also agree upon and make note of it that, so besides so they get one Christmas, he gets the next, that, if, so instance, for, let's say he got them this Christmas, after Christmas Day on the 26th, Angela, regardless of whether it's a work weekday or a holiday, should be able to come get the children and let them, have a day with her side to, re-celebrate.
That was another aspect I wanted to bring up, so yes, I totally agree.
And
I think that works out for Angela's, her wants or her wishes.
Yeah, and I believe that'll work for his as well, because whether he's, I think they should get fair amount of time with both of their grandparents as well in the children's case. But...
And I think that the only holidays we'd really have to do that with would be Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Easter, depending on how they feel about the religious aspect of it.
I know that Angela comes from a very religious family, so I know I would assume that Easter is a important holiday. So I would think that that it probably would be important to Robert as well.
Right.
I'm sure they can alternate. If you were to go through, I'd listed some of the holidays. Christmas, New Year's, Easter, Halloween, Thanksgiving.
Right. So that was my idea, that Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. So if they could possibly make it work, that they'd be able to do one or the other. But because they're different states, it would be a lot of traveling and impact on the kids with this uncomfortable situation. So if Robert were to have Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, then regardless of whether it's a weekend or a weekday, have like a day and a half.
Okay, yeah.
Vice versa. Like, you know what I mean? The day after to be like with the kids, have the grandparents with them and celebrate in that way. Like they should both be able
Christmas.
to like they should both be able to celebrate each holiday with their children. If it's not on that day, depending on what their scheduled year is
of the
holiday, but have the opportunity each year to celebrate that holiday.
Okay, yeah, I agree, and I think with Christmas and with Thanksgiving, we could stipulate that whoever gets them for Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, they would have to make arrangements for the other party to be able to, get the children, or so they'd have to do make certain scheduling arrangements or traveling arrangements.
Yeah.
And,
okay, so I'll make note of that. Holidays yearly, switched plus time for the other party.
Yeah, and I do really think that we don't have to do the splitting the holidays with Thanksgiving and Christmas. I think the other ones they can just alternate.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, also as the children get older, like Robert Jr. is 12 years old, so there's going to be the holidays, like, for instance, New Year's Eve, Halloween. I guess that would have to be Angela and Robert's discretion, but, like, he might want to spend them with his friends.
Okay.
Stuff like that. So I guess that's, for now at least, holidays on a yearly basis, alternated, plus time for the other party, like the day after or the day before that holiday to spend with their child to celebrate alternatively the holiday.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I think that works very well for what Angela wants.
Okay.
As far as that goes.
So next.
I guess if we want to continue with, the children are obviously the most important.
Correct.
And I'm sure that not too far behind that would be the house.
Correct.
Because the house is a big part of the children. Angela, I guess she wants to stay in the house, but is not opposed to moving if it were at all, necessary. But she feels like with the kids not wanting to disturb their schedule, that she wants to keep them in that neighborhood and in that school district because it would be beneficial to them.
So, in regards to that, obviously the two of them, this is going to take a financial load on them. The house is, from what I have been told, sorry, let me just find it. I believe the house is worth $940,000.
Okay. Angela.
I could be mistaken. Do you have,
I was actually...
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, that would be the vacation home.
Vacation home.
But, so the house has been redone. It's a larger house.
Yes.
It has a significant value. I think Robert would feel that in order to, like, make this work in a financial way, do you think Angela would be opposed to selling the house? Their house, splitting it 50-50 and buying a smaller house, whether it's next door in the same neighborhood, so it's literally wouldn't disturb the school district, wouldn't disturb their neighborhood, their friends, and everything else. Rather, just a large house like that, when you don't have like a complete family, especially, and the children will be spending different time in different places. A smaller house might be a better solution where if they split the earnings of the house at the value 50-50, or enough at least for Angela to buy a house in a smaller house in the same neighborhood.
Okay, I think that because the house is somewhat burdensome for Angela. She does like it and she would like to stay in it, but she also understands that the house is large, and it would be very difficult for her to maintain on her own.
Yes.
So she has expressed that she would love to stay in the home, but if that is not possible, and with it being as large as it is, and with her reservations on the upkeep, she wants to be able to stay in the neighborhood.
Right.
So,
and I think that Robert would agree with that he would want his kids to be not disturbed like that, and to be able to stay in their neighborhood, stay with their neighborhood friends, stay in their school district, and not have that disturbed. So do you think that if we can have them find a house that works for the two of their interests in the same neighborhood, smaller, and they sold their house, that the way that they would split it, preferably 50-50, which I think Angela could agree on if the house is of a substantially lower value.
Yes.
However, I believe that Robert wants to keep the kids in that neighborhood. So I think if the house that they looked at wasn't 50-50 and he had to contribute to make sure that they were able to stay in that neighborhood, he'd be willing to do so.
Okay. So I think that if we were to have to sell it, I think that that's going to be the best course of action. Like I said, she doesn't want to stay in the house, but it's just not quite feasible. But at the minimum, she doesn't want to stay in the neighborhood. So I think on the lines
as long as she can stay in the neighborhood and it can afford the house in that exact neighborhood.
Yes.
That will be split as long as she can.
Mm-hmm.
If it's less than the 50-50, she gets the 50%.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
If it's more than the 50%, I can see that Robert would be willing to contribute to them having a house in the exact same neighborhood.
Okay, so I think it would be a good compromise in that text. That would be to sell the house,
right?
Use the money from the house to purchase a new house. I think with a 50% floor, they should be able to find a house at 50% of the value and no more than 70% of the value of the initial home.
Okay.
So I think, and then obviously the 30%. If it was all the way up to the 70%, I think the 30% then would be given back to Robert. And if it were to stay, and so whatever they don't use, if it's below $50,000, then she would take up to the 50% portion, and Robert would take the other 50%. If they were to use all the way up to the 70%, then he would have the 30%.
Correct.
So
like I said, I think that selling the house is the best option, giving them a smaller home in the same neighborhood, which Robert definitely wants them to be able to do. So if they sell the house, split the earnings, or split the value of the house at that point. I think we should agree upon a 50-50, but Robert does want to keep them in that exact neighborhood. So I guess maybe we could say up to 65%. Or 70%, they should be able to find one at 50%.
I think so too. I just don't want to restrict them to a certain portion and then not. So.
Right. So I guess between 65 and 70%, I guess they can go up to with that. As long as I think the main thing is going to be that they get a house in the exact neighborhood that they're in. Yes. So it doesn't disturb the children.
That's what's most important to her, and from what you're saying, I feel like that's most important to Robert.
So I think that we should at least give them the straight criteria that they should split the house 50-50, the earnings of the house 50-50 for Angela to buy a new house in the same neighborhood, and if she needs up to a 70%,
she can.
She can to make sure that it's in the same neighborhood and meets the children's and hers needs.
And if it would, I think the 70%, I think that'd be a great compromise there. And I think that to maybe make you feel more at ease with it, so she doesn't, just spend the 70% because we agreed to it, that Robert can have some say in the home if we do have to go over the 50%. So I think anything if 50% under is up to her discretion, and then anything above that, Robert would have partial say, or
So 50% her say, up
to 70.
Past 50%, Robert, what he has to contribute, he will have some say in to make sure. Yes. Okay. All right.
I feel like that's.
So I guess in consideration of the house as well, Robert lives in a small condo now. Because he is going to have the children on the weekends.
Yeah.
And because they're 9 and 12 years old, that kind of age where they want their own type of thing. Robert would like to purchase a new condo closer to the children and like the street that they live on now, in that neighborhood. A condo that's bigger, so it will allow the children to have their own rooms. So when they do go there, whether it's for just the weekend on the normal schedule, a holiday, or if Angela calls and asks him to take the kids an extra night that week or whatever the situation is, they have their own place to stay and they don't feel like they just have to put on an air mattress or something.
Yeah, and it would, I think, because like I said, Angela's most important priority is the children.
Right.
So I think that if they want, he wants somewhere that's his home as well.
So
I think that's...
in regards to that, that is why, I think selling the house would be the best option, so he can use that extra money to buy a new condo. And then the vacation home was another issue.
Yes.
Because they've put so much work into it, and this is where Robert actually has the estimate of its $940,000 worth.
Okay. Angela also had an estimate of it. The realtor said it was worth $1 million.
We have 60% at it's worth being $1 million, 20% chance $900,000, and 20% chance $800,000.
Okay, so yeah, ours was just a little bit different there. So I think with the expected value of $970,000.
Okay, so between
so
$940,000, $970,000. We both have in regards to the value of the West Virginia home. However, Robert feels that the children love this home.
Yes.
It's a vacation home that they enjoy as well. So, do you think that Angela would be willing to agree upon keeping the home, the West Virginia home? However, because of its value, and because of the way that it's not like a regular home, how do you think she would feel about making it like that when they're not there, or when they aren't going there, that they're renting it?
And then
so they get an income and they split.
They'd split the profit?
They'd split the profit of each rent. When someone rents it, they split that profit. Because then within their terms of custody, Robert can have a little flexibility to if the kids want to go to the lake house, take the kids to the lake house. Something especially with going through the divorce, if they're upset or not doing well with it, he can take them somewhere where they feel comfortable. But because of the fact that they're not together anymore and the value of the house, keeping the home to make the children feel comfortable, and making them feel like they have that little bit of normalcy in their life still.
Yeah, I understand.
But I think that because of the financial aspect of it, the two of them should rent out the house when they're not there. And think about it, they're probably going to go on vacation there maybe 3 times a year.
3 times a year. That's
3 times a year. So renting out the house, especially in the summer, they might go there for a week or 2, but summer lake houses have significant value to people, with renting for family vations.
And it's on very good. It's on a very good location.
It's in a very good location. So what I'm thinking is they can have, based on the realtor's value, they can probably rent the house for between $1,500 and $2,000 for a week.
Okay.
And by that much a week, they can easily people will stay in a house for 10 days, 2 weeks, for a vacation home. That's especially in a good location on a lake house. Especially during the summer months, they can make a heavy profit off of that. So they really wouldn't be necessarily losing anything, just gaining it as an extra source of income.
Okay.
And it allows the children to feel as though they haven't lost.
Angela does know that Robert obviously enjoys the home. She didn't, and the children obviously like it. So I think, and she feels that she does deserve some portion of the value of the home, and I think that renting it would I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
I know that she just wanted a portion of its value, and I think that if it were to be used for that, I think we would.
I think the value could especially come from the children's enjoyment of it.
Exactly.
But also, they still own it, but they can still make a profit off of it by renting it.
Okay.
Because they can even, between the two of them and their real estate agents, they can decide how they want to value the rent at per week type of thing on a weekly basis, how they decide to rent it. But I think that renting the house out when they're not using it for their own personal values, they can decide on an amount and then split that. So they can even upcharge it to between $2,000 and $3,000 a week, especially since its location and how nice it is, depending on how many families are going to stay there for that week or whatnot. If they rent it, they can split that value, and they can make the value go up depending on.
Okay. So let's say this, that the lake house will be considered an income property, and they will split the profits of that in half, because that's what she was. She thinks that she's entitled to half of its worth, and if it's as an income property, half of its worth is half the money that it brings in. So I think that
splitting that rent half, I feel like would work, especially when they're not using it. And then went over the condo, went over the house, went over the vacation home. They also own household goods, obviously furniture, vintage furniture, and stuff as well. Do you think that Angela would be open to allowing Robert to keep the more valuable items to him to put into his new condo rather than purchasing new furniture? Using the furniture, the vintage ones that he has collected, that he has more love towards, which he expressed that Angela really doesn't care that much about, but because there are some with substantial value to them, if Robert keeps, for instance, I believe it's the dining room table, a bureau, a large vanity type of thing that is in their main entrance, that if he kept those and whatever other one, I believe there's a few that he finds with significant emotional value to, and then they sold the rest of them.
Okay,
and
I think that if we're one thing, everything else, anything that's sold, I think we could do that and then split whatever comes out of the furniture that's being sold down the middle, and that would be that. And anything that he would like. Angela also has some reservations with the furniture, not mainly with a lot of the furniture, but one piece in particular, the dining room set that they purchased after their wedding. She wants to keep it with the intention in mind, handing it down to the children.
Okay. Well, I know that Robert has a love for that particular piece. And if Angela wants to pass it down, and that's her main intention with keeping it, would she be open, you think, to allowing Robert to have it to put into his new home, and then passing it on to the children? I guess particularly Robert Jr., since he would be the next one in line to take it.
I think that if we did that, I don't know if Angela would like that, because she does have she's very attached to the dining room set. But I think that if we could split the income from the furniture that we're selling in a different portion, or different proportion, to help that, I think she might be open to a compromise in such a way.
So, how would you, do you think, maybe her taking the dining room set and him taking the large armoire in the living room and the couple others that he found of value, that if she kept the dining room set, he could keep the large armoire and a couple others, and then split the rest of them 50-50, but that's with the intention that those pieces that they will pass down to their children.
Pass down. I think that would work.
Okay.
That would work
Yep.
just fine.
Okay. So Robert will get the armoire and a couple other little tchotchkes.
Tchotchkes?
I guess that's what I'd call them.
All right.
mention of the ones they keep, they have to pass down.
Yes, and we'll put that in the agreement.
I guess then we should discuss the issue of alimony.
All right. I feel like that is a proper course.
So Robert feels that his business has great potential as a real moneymaker. He likes what he does. He's been working long hours, but had to obviously to get his business up and running. Angela also has now her own photography business,
Yes.
both of which they highly value as personal
Yes.
courses of what they've done with their lives. Robert has been paying back business loans regularly for the past 4 years and still has to finish doing so.
Okay.
I know that there is the issue of the loan that they were given.
Because I think it's under both of their names.
Right,
through the
by
bank.
Angela's parents.
Oh, okay, yes, the loan from there. I was talking about the bank loan, but
Oh, okay. You want to discuss the bank loan first?
we could go into the parents first.
Okay, so in regards to the parents gave them $50,000
Okay.
to start the business.
All right, 50. It was 50.
It was $50,000. Robert has already paid them back $10,000
Yes,
of that.
Yes, of their loan.
Of that. And although Angela feels it is a loan, after Robert paid back basically the $10,000, even though they insisted to him it was a gift, because he obviously didn't want to upset Angela. He's like tried to start paying back, and he paid them back $10,000 so far. And her parents keep insisting that like it's a gift, no more.
Okay.
So I guess in regard to the bank loan, what do you feel with that being said? How much do we think we can like split alimony? Is that
Okay, so with
it'll
the bank
work
loan,
towards everything?
I think the bank loan in particular. I think Angela's main concern is that she's on the bank loan for his business.
Okay,
And her credit
exactly
is at
how much?
That
Has
is
Angela-
not a number I've been given for the initial bank loan.
I don't have the number for the initial bank loan either.
I think that if aside from the number, I think what's more important to Angela is that she's not on the hook per se if he were to default. So I think if we could have it
I believe
refinanced.
Okay, I believe it's $50,000 was
50,000.
the initial loan. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it is $50,000.
Okay, so
Yes,
Angela,
yes, I'm sorry. Yes, it is $50,000 was the loan
Okay,
on the business,
and that's the bank loan, right?
bank loan
Okay.
wise.
Yes.
And then he owes $40,000 if we consider what he paid to her parents alone.
Yeah, we'll hold off on the parents.
Okay.
Fine, let's just.
All right. Because I guess one thing is, I don't feel that Robert or her should have to sell either of their businesses.
No.
And I don't,
think that.
like,
I don't.
especially with what is happening, like the livelihood and their futures and providing for themselves and their children at this point in the game, I believe that it should kind of be separated, and their businesses should not be sold to either of them. They should have complete control over both of their businesses.
And I feel like their businesses are they're in their names, and honestly, even if she wants X amount of dollars in alimony or whatever,
Right.
how's she gonna get it if he doesn't have a job?
Exactly.
If he doesn't have a business, make money, there's no way that she's gonna be able to maintain the life that she's lived and that of the children. So
Right.
it's just not feasible for him to
So-
sell.
With that being said, I kind of came up with that Robert already has made it very clear he wants to provide alimony for Angela for several years.
Okay.
To keep her content, keep the children content, in that regard, and pay back her part of the loan to her, to give her that money back.
And is this the loan or the initial investment that they made together?
Initially.
Because they made $100,000 and they made an investment in his
it
business?
It would be the initial investment.
Okay.
I believe it's the initial investment.
Okay.
Is included with it.
Okay. Well, let's see. I have that they made the initial investment together of the $100,000, and she, the $50,000 that you were talking about, she feels as though she is entitled to half.
Half was
yeah,
hers.
she's
Half
entitled
was
to
his,
half.
half was hers. Well, let me throw this off.
Sure.
Out there.
Okay.
He would like to pay her for several years of alimony 5% of his salary.
Okay.
So he makes $100,000 a year right now, as right. Mind you, he's just starting up too.
Okay.
So he makes $100,000. He's expecting to make more as he keeps taking his business off the ground. But regardless, for the several years, Angela will get 5% of his salary.
Okay.
In addition to that, he would be willing to pay back the $50,000 to her.
Okay.
Over the course of 5 years.
Okay. So it'd be $10,000 a year.
Yes, $10,000 a year. If he could do more, he will, and cut the time down. He will do more if he possibly can. But because he is still paying back the other loans for the business,
okay.
He needs still some wiggle room to be able to provide for the children when he has them as well, and do the rest of it.
Sure.
Which is also why I think that keeping the lake house, selling the regular home, and having that property income from the lake house, and getting the smaller houses and everything will kind of help him be able to do so. With paying $10,000 a year at minimum, hopefully more if he can.
Okay. Yeah.
But over the course of 5 years, he'd be more than willing to pay back that initial investment, as well as the several years of alimony at 5%.
Okay. So Angela is concerned mostly, obviously, for herself and the children. Since she will be the primary caregiver. So alimony would, obviously go for the children. She, as you know, her business hasn't quite taken off as much as Robert's has. Obviously, it's a lot younger. It's in its earlier stages of development. So right now, she's only making around $25,000 a year. And at that salary, she's not going to be able to, maintain the, the mortgage and, the children and that such. So I think alimony is obviously important to her, and I think that if we could agree on a year time frame, I think that would be sufficient. Would be when the kids are out of high school.
Okay.
18, until they're 18.
Because then, so 5% alimony until the children turn 18, because Robert wanted several years of alimony, and Robert's 12.
Mm-hmm. So that
would put him at 19. So I think Robert had it in mind to do it between 7 to 10 years until Sally's only 9 years old.
Yeah.
So he wants to make sure that Sally's provided for as well.
Yeah. Well, until they're both out of high school.
Right.
Yeah. So obviously it would end when Sally was done, and then
okay.
Let's see.
And I did say, how Robert's business right now, he's making $100,000. So 5% of $100,000.
Yeah. And then
but as that number increases, 5% also increases. 5% of his salary, because it.
So it would be his salary would be there'd be another estimate every year.
Every year, there's a different estimate on the salary.
All right.
Because as his thing increases,
so
does 5% of that.
Okay, I agree. I think so. I'll just be forward with you. Angela wanted 10%, but I think we could agree somewhere around 7.5.
What about 7? That would be split between the two.
For the 10 years.
Yeah, for 10 years, 7% of his salary.
Okay.
For 10 years, 7% of his salary, because even though she does have them, she does have them during the week. of that custody period, there's also the potential that she is going to say, can you take them for the night? There are the holidays. There are the times where Robert might say, hey, I want to take the kids to the lake house for an extra night or something, or take them to get away. Like, he's still going to be providing for them, and because he is going to have them on weekends, Robert's obviously going to be taking care of them, giving them money, providing for them as well.
Yes.
So, like, he obviously loves his children and wants to still provide for them as well. So, like, in terms of child custody, the two of them really haven't discussed that, because I feel that they both feel that they're both going to be providing for the children on an equal basis.
And I meant more with, providing for them, with, the cost of living. Because they will spend, more time with her than, at least in their home, and her home's going to have a little bit more upkeep, because, he would be moving to condos where she's going to be buying homes. So I think
the 7% of the salary for 10 years should be sufficient enough for that. And he has to pay back the $50,000 over the 5 years.
Yes.
To her over the 5 years.
Alright, so now I guess we've done the lake house, the house, furniture, children,
alimony, business.
And now, business. We have business, yes?
Well, yeah, we just said that they're going to keep their businesses. Their businesses are separate. They really don't have anything to do with each other's businesses.
No.
She's too occupied doing her photography. He's too occupied dealing with his clients. I just feel like that should just be kept separate. They both put hard work into them. I don't think that should be taken away from, especially as they're not going to be together. They're going to start to move on with their lives. Especially if Angela does have a boyfriend at this point in time. Being involved with Robert's business isn't necessarily. She doesn't want to be with her husband.
No, of course, and Angela didn't want that. She just wanted to, one thing with the businesses, with the business loan. Because she said that they went in for a loan through the bank to start Robert's business, and I think it's important to her that she's not necessarily attached to Robert's business anymore. Like you were saying, she doesn't really have any stake in that company.
Right. Like I did say, Robert has been paying back since they got their separation.
Yes.
Over the 4 years, he's been paying back
the loan.
Paying back the loan. So I don't think his concern is really with
I just
Angela being attached to it. He doesn't want Angela attached to the businesses.
So I would just recommend that if it's agreeable for Robert to have that loan refinanced and put solely in his name.
Okay.
So Angela Angela's not attached to that at all, for his benefit and for hers as well.
Okay. So let me just review what we have. In terms of alimony, 7% of his salary for 10 years plus $50,000 of the initial investment paid back over the course of the 5 years. Division of their property. House, they would sell their marital house and purchase a house in the same neighborhood, splitting the value of the marital house 50-50, and Robert, if the house they cannot get the new one for 50% or 50% of the earnings, they can go up to 70% with the 20% Robert say in the house.
Yes.
Vacation home, they would technically use it as an income property, renting it when they aren't there, splitting the profits in half. Household goods, Angela would get the dining room set, Robert would get the armoire and the other couple that he so wanted, split the value of what the rest of them that they will sell 50-50, and with the intention they keep these items, they have to pass them down to their children.
Yes, I agree.
Custody. We have Angela primarily during the weeks, Robert primarily on the weekends. Neither of them are allowed to have a boyfriend, girlfriend stay over unless it's a committed
relationship.
Long-term relationship.
That's
if, let's say, one of them did want to have that significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend over, they're required to call the other and
make other arrangements
to have the kids stay with the other parent or grandparent. Probably the other parent because of school.
The grandparents obviously live out of state.
So primarily call the other parent to make other arrangements for them to stay there for the night.
Can we say the other parent has the first option?
Yes,
and then,
other parent has the first option. And then if they cannot...
Yes, then other arrangements.
Right. Holidays are going to be split, alternated yearly, plus time for the other party to celebrate
Thanksgiving,
Christmas, alternatively, like whether it's the day after, the day before.
To their discretion.
Business loan be refinanced and be put solely in Robert's name, so Angela's not attached to the business.
And then I think one thing that we forgot to come back to was the parent loan, the loan from Angela's parents.
Yep.
I think that's the last issue that we need to discuss.
I guess my only concern with that is Angela's parents don't want the money. They keep insisting it is a gift.
Okay.
Angela just insists it isn't.
Okay.
But coming from her parents' mouth, they're insisting it's a gift. And in trying to kind of ease Angela's mind, Robert has already paid back $10,000 of that.
Yes.
$50,000, so there's only $40,000 remaining. So, do you think Angela would be willing to, like, basically get a written, like, statement from her parents, signed that if they don't want the money back, or if they do the remaining $40,000, and if they insist that they don't, then...
I think, I don't know if Angela would agree with that because she is, she's very adamant that that the loan was that it was a loan, and if it could be paid, she feels like it should be paid back, in some way.
Okay, so I guess my thing was that, so that's why I'm saying that, like, because Angela's parents are insisting that it's a gift, I feel like after the divorce especially, can we, like, make an agreement that they need to go they need to get either a lawyer or someone, get an official thing stating from the parents that they don't want to be paid back and that it is considered a gift and that there is it doesn't need to be reciprocated or paid back at all. But if they do state that they do want it paid back, that remaining $40,000, Robert can pay back so he's paying back the initial investment to Angela, $50,000 over 5 years. So $90,000 over 9 years. Because that $10,000 would be that $10,000 per year. The $40,000, excuse me. That $10,000, that would be paid directly. $10,000 that those years would be paid directly to her parents to pay back their loan.
Okay.
That she considers. So it would be $90,000 over 9 years, and whether he alternated between paying Angela the $10,000 that year or his parents or her parents the $10,000, but it would be $90,000 over 9 years.
Okay.
With Angela getting $50,000 of it, and her parents getting $40,000 of it. But that's why I'm stating that maybe before we take to that extreme, go to Angela's parents directly, and if they consider it a gift, that way it helps Angela in the long run too. She'd be getting $50,000 over the 5 years without the possibility of not getting $10,000 a year because Robert can't afford it with paying both.
Okay. I think so. Like I said, she's very adamant that it was a loan. I know Robert's feeling, and and that he would have heard that from the parents. So I do have a solution. If we were to, like you said, $90,000 over 9 years, and instead of doing that, if we did pay back Angela the $50,000 from the initial investment on their part first, over 5 years, and then you said over 9 years, let's make that 10 years, and over the next 5 years, he pays back $40,000 to Angela's parents because they're obviously not in any hurry to collect it, and that would be less burdensome on him in the long run, and that would.
So I guess my question with that would be, what if her parents die within those 10 years?
That is it. No, I did not think of that.
That means Angela would get that money, and Robert isn't going to pay Angela back her parents' gift to him. So I guess that's where my concern comes in, is that don't you think it would be beneficial to go to her parents directly almost? And ask
have
them
this
if they
cleared
want
up.
it cleared up? Because regardless, like it's Angela's parents' money, not hers.
Yes, and I agree.
Angela's parents, he has tried to pay back, and he paid back $10,000, and they insist they don't want anything else.
Okay.
And I feel like that extra bit of that $40,000, because it is considered a gift by her parents, he can use that in other ways, because he can pay for his condo, he can put it towards the children.
Okay.
Unless, how would you feel about,
well, okay, so, you make a good point. I think, one other idea, how open Robert would be to this. So, we have the income property. If we were to use a portion of that income to pay back her parents for their loan until that's paid off, and then we had estimated $2,000 a month they would be getting. If we use that income property to pay off her parents back until that's paid off completely.
But they're splitting that $2,000 a month.
Well, yeah, but it's
like they would both be paying back the parents. So like all the income from that property would go straight to their parents.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're going to run into the same time frame problem of how long it'll take.
Yeah, that would take it.
Because that only
40 months, so that's almost 5 years.
And we don't know how old her parents necessarily are at this point and their health situation. So I guess that's why I'm saying how.
Okay. You have any ideas? So
I guess that's why I said if we go directly to their parents and there's like a legal signature statement saying it's a gift. There's kind of no pressure from either side.
Yes.
Angela doesn't really carry the burden of it at that point anymore, that she owes her parents, that there's owed money to her parents, and Robert doesn't feel the pressure that from her that he has to when they're insisting it's a gift.
I think Angela's more I think her main concern is, she feels that even if it was, say that was given as a gift, I think her concern more is it was given as a gift
to the two of them.
To the two of them.
Right. But I mean, that's also where the problem comes in, that they were married.
Yes.
That that was their decision to put them into that.
So I think that would appease Angela more if let's say half of the loan was a gift.
So what if we did this? There's $40,000 left to be paid back to them.
Yes.
What if Robert pays back $20,000 of the $40,000?
That's exactly where I was going.
Okay.
I think that would work. I think it will just say if we could. I think I can sway Angela in the idea that it was half a gift. Her half of it was a gift, and his half was for the business, and that
right.
then he should pay back the business loan, and she didn't. Right.
And at that point, if it appeases Angela more, Robert's already paid back $10,000, so he'd already have paid back more than.
Yes, pay back part of it, and so we'll just pay back the other part to $20,000.
Okay, so in terms of yearly wise, so that also leaves the $50,000 over 5 years.
Yes.
For Angela, but Robert's not going to be able to pay back an additional $10,000, like $20,000
for the first 2 years.
For the first 2 years. So I guess would Angela be willing to take less over those first 2 years?
I think if we...
Or would you like to still do it with 7 years? 70,000 over 7 years?
I think that would probably be
70,000 over 7 years.
And I think the grandparents have 7 years left in them.
Okay.
I think they're going to make it. Maybe.
Hopefully. Well, this is what we're going to agree to. So I guess if they do die, just in... I mean, let's not hope that, but if they did, per se, die, can we sweep that?
Instead of make it mutually beneficial, make a stipulation that it's...
what if, how about this?
For the kids.
That's where I was just going to say. If the grandparents die.
Let's say it'll be left then
to the
in
children.
a trust for the children, for their college or something.
Okay.
So, I think that is all the issues that we have.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No. I think this suits both of them and their needs.
With the visitation schedule,
yes.
The weekly, did we want to do the every other weekend and every other weekend and every Thursday? Right, every week, one weekday a week, and then every other weekend. Is that what we wanted to do? So, like, they would get Angela would take care of them during the week.
Or would get them on the weekend.
Okay, so we want to do every weekend, like the kids are with them every weekend?
I think it should be every weekend, especially if she's getting them every week. Mm-hmm. Especially with, like, him considering taking them to the lake house at certain times and stuff like that. But that's also with the stipulation that if Robert needs a weekend and can't have them, Angela gets the first to have them. Mm-hmm. And I guess we could add this in there, that if Angela did want to take them somewhere on a weekend, she has to give them for 2 days during the week, though.
Okay.
Or however many days she takes out of his time, they need to reciprocate each other for it.
Okay, so I think if we just wanted to make a schedule, like you said, every 2 days give back to him. So what if we did, she gets them during, like, he would get them every weekend, right? But so let's structure like this. Every other week he gets them Thursday and Friday, and she gets them on that weekend. So every other weekend would be with her, and during that week he would get them on Thursday and Friday.
So Angela gets them. I guess my concern is that the children are in school, their schedule, because Thursday, Friday they still have school.
Yeah, but I mean he's going to be moving into the condo in the neighborhood, right? So the school That shouldn't be an issue.
Every other weekend.
And then of those weeks that he has a weekend, then he would get them 2 days during the week. So like Thursday and Friday, I think would be most valuable days of the week, unless you had any other ideas.
No, I do have to agree because Thursday, Friday's closer to the weekend.
Yeah.
So.
And
Okay.
it's a lot easier for somebody to take off.
But
Friday
that's still with the stipulation on the holidays.
Yes, that's all.
And all of that.
Yes.
And if either of them can't have the child that day or wants to have their significant other order, first thing goes to them.
Yes.
Okay.
First option.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I agree.
Cool. And we'll just draw up the document and sign it.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, that's fine.
I really hope it recorded. That would be worst case.
That would be terrible.
Oh wait, no, I did.